sorry. At this time, we'll have Dr. Rich. What's your name? I'm sorry. I'm kidding. Dr. Rich Johnson.
Wallace.
Whatever your name is, come and take your spot.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rich Johnson. I am a proud rank and file member of Indivisible Northwest Illinois. We're very happy that you've joined us this evening on this momentous occasion. Far more momentous for us than perhaps Mr. Biss and Dr. Wallace, but we're very happy you're here. We're very proud also to eagerly, publicly, enthusiastically endorse the Biss Wallace ticket, and hopefully we will see the next governor and lieutenant governor here in the room with us. The first time I saw Daniel Biss was at the tax march last year, and he knocked my socks off. He called on the entrenched political interests of Springfield, eviscerated the governor for his imperial do-nothing rule, and laid out a bold vision to transform the political landscape of Illinois. As a returned Peace Corps volunteer and a teacher whose 34 years of service, during which I've had the honor of walking a picket line to protest the oligarchic rule of a narcissistic community college president, Daniel Biss, his message resonated with me at that tax march yesterday, or last year, sorry. This evening, it feels like it does, it feels just like it. This evening, I'm honored to introduce Daniel Biss, a true progressive and the only middle-class candidate in the race for governor. Through his pragmatic approach to politics, he has a proven record of working for average Illinoisans and is the only candidate whose agenda will bring about real change on a whole host of issues. But rather than offer you a litany of his achievements, and they are long, all you really need to remember on Tuesday is his last name, Biss. B-I-S-S. B is for budget. For too long, we have balanced our budgets when we've had one on the backs of the middle class. Daniel Biss understands that the budget crisis is a revenue challenge, not a spending problem. He's proposed legislation to close the carried interest loophole and is co-sponsoring a bill to tax financial transactions. As our governor, he will push for progressive, revenue-raising policies that will benefit all Illinoisans. I is for income. Daniel Biss believes Illinoisans deserve to earn a living wage, and he co-sponsored a bill that the present governor vetoed to raise the minimum wage to $15, and sponsored legislation to crack down on wage theft and close the wage gap.
He vetoed that bill too.
Yes.
Sorry?
He vetoed that bill too.
Well, what do you expect from an oligarch? Absolutely. Thank you. He introduced a constitutional amendment to create a progressive income tax so that millionaires and billionaires will pay their fair share, finally. As our governor, he will fight for workers, ensuring equal pay for equal work, and collective bargaining rights. S. That's next, right? The first S is for schools. Daniel Biss is a former math teacher who recognizes the importance of a quality education, and he sends his kids to public school. He knows the current formula for determining school funding has historically hurt low-income families and people of color. Daniel Biss believes that we must make equal access to quality education a priority, that our schools must be fully funded, and that community college should be tuition-free. As our governor, he will fight to overhaul the tax funding formula so that it no longer relies on a corrupt property tax system. And the final S is for social issues and services. Daniel Biss believes that we must dismantle the systemic structures that discriminate. He believes that everyone in Illinois, regardless of their citizenship status, deserves equal rights. He believes that women should have the right to choose and access the health care they need. That we must do more to protect our LGBTQ brothers and sisters from discrimination and violence. As our governor, he will fight for universal health care, to expand social services and protections for seniors, and build a government that works for everyone. But that's only the half of it. I got another 10 minutes. Don't get me started on what his first name stands for. D, democratic values. A, equal access. N, nice. He's just plain nice. I, personal integrity. E, sensible energy policies. And of course, L, the most important, inspired leadership. Folks, it's clear to me that Daniel Biss is the real deal, the answer for Illinois, and the only choice for governor of Illinois. So I only have one question for you. Who are you going to vote for? Can I get a B? Can I get an I? Can I get an S? And one more S. What's that spell? Yes. All right, the next governor, Democratic governor of Illinois, Daniel Biss.
So let's start by talking about the next lieutenant governor of Illinois. I didn't know you could tell I was anxious. That's disappointing. It's true. Leticia and I met pretty close to 4 years ago. I went to visit her in Rockford. She was a newly elected state representative. I didn't even know her name yet. This is literally true. But I was traveling the state to talk about a retirement security bill, a bill to lift up millions of people in Illinois, give them a chance at dignity in retirement. I'd go anywhere to meet with somebody, to be honest, to talk about it. And I went to see this new state representative, and we had a great conversation about the bill, but we just had a good conversation about everything else, too, and we've been friends since. And it's so interesting. A Jewish mathematician, grew up in Indiana, lives in Evanston, male, an African-American counselor and educator and leader and administrator who grew up in the south side of Chicago, in the south suburbs, lives in Rockford. On paper, we're so different, and in our hearts, we're so similar. I saw that connection the first time we met, and I've learned so much having this little glimpse of the world through your eyes. I learn every day having a little glimpse of the world through your eyes. And I want to say something very specific about Leticia's character. She's got a pretty good job now, right? She's state representative, first African-American woman ever to represent the 67th district in the State House of Representatives. She does it. She does it unbelievably well. Like, honestly, even better than you're thinking right now. Unbelievably effectively. When there's really a difficult thing to get done in the House, when it's time to beat back against Bruce Rauner and give tens of thousands of families access to child care, Leticia Wallace is the one to do it. And I get the impression that you like that job pretty well, too. And I was supposed to be this, like, dumb, long shot, no chance candidate for governor, and I said, hey, how about if you don't run for re-election, how about if you join a ticket with me instead? And there were a lot of people who said, well, Leticia hasn't lost her mind, so she's going to say no. Now, I believe that Leticia, in fact, has not lost her mind. But she said yes because her commitment is not to herself, but to service. And she saw this as a way that she could serve in a better and more effective way, serve more people, change more lives. And it was a risk, and people looked at her funny, and it meant she's put everything professionally on the line. All the chips are in the middle of the table, if you're Leticia Wallace right now. But she did what Leticia Wallace always does, which is ask herself, what's the way that I can help the most people? And then go and do that. Could you all please give the person who's going to be the best lieutenant governor Illinois has ever had one more round of applause? Say thank you to Bob and John and Mary, to Evelyn, to Rich. I've got to remember now what my name stands for. We're videotaping this. I'm going to be able to study the tape tonight. I'll get there, I promise. I think there seemed like there were 3 S's at the last minute there. Anyway, I'm on it. Thank you to all of you. Thank you, Evelyn. My God, that was powerful. Thank you to all of you for choosing to step up in this way in this moment, and thank you to all of you for choosing to step up in this way in this moment. I want to just say a few words because I think I've used up my 2.5 minutes already. What time is it? Hold on. All right. 4 minutes from now, we will be 48 hours from the polls closing in this historic race. You guys, we are there. It is about to happen. It is about 48 hours to decide who we're going to be. What kind of party is this Democratic Party in Illinois going to be? Are we going to be a billionaire party, or are we going to be a party for the middle class and for working people and for the poor? That's a pretty important choice. Are we going to look at Trump and Rauner and say, well, I guess Republicans have convinced us that inexperienced billionaires are the only option we have, so we got to pick one of them too? Or are we going to build a completely different kind of politics because we believe in a different set of values and a different set of outcomes? Are we going to have an election, or are we going to have an auction? Are we going to say, Bruce Rauner is so bad, which he is, and we must beat him. It's such an imperative for us to beat him, which it is. Now, we don't care who we beat him with, as long as we win and go back to whatever we had before, that's good enough. Or are we going to say, wait a second, we have problems in Illinois before Bruce Rauner became governor, and now it's the time to solve them, now it's the time to get it right? These are big questions. Oh, and by the way, the country's watching.
Yes.
I mean, this is a big race all of a sudden. This is a referendum on some pretty profound questions. And it's being played out in this cartoonish way, right? People worry about big money in politics, but JB spent $70 million. $70 million. People worry about experience and having a progressive record, but we've got 12 years of service in the legislature, passing 120 bills between us, and the other tickets have nothing. Nothing. One running mate spent a year in the legislature. Besides that, neither of the governor candidates have done anything in government at all, and that just seems to be okay. These questions are pretty big, and as the Democratic Party nationally is watching to see who we're going to be, they're trying to figure out, does Donald Trump being president mean that we have to do the same kind of thing as Democrats, or is there instead a different, better way forward?
Yes.
That's a huge question. Let us send an earthquake across the country in 48 hours to show them what party we can be if we only trust our better angels. Let us do that. Most importantly, listen, we're running for offices in Illinois with some real power. Let's talk about what we're going to do. You mentioned it, I think it was you, Rich, who talked about how we're going to actually build a tax code for the economy we have, not one that we left behind 2 generations ago. We're going to tax the financial sector properly. We're going to tax financial transactions. We're going to close the corrupt Bruce Rauner carried interest tax loophole. We're going to say, wait a second, that's where the money is. If we tax it properly, we can fund what we need, which means universal health care, fully funded education, and free tuition. We're going to actually do fundamental campaign finance reform and have public funding of elections so our votes count more than their dollars. We're going to fight for transformational criminal justice reforms of the type that politicians have been scared to come out for decades, because George H.W. Bush got elected president with the racist TV commercial with a picture of Willie Horton in it. And we're going to actually fight to genuinely reverse mass incarceration and create a system of real equity of opportunity. We're going to do that. And when we say we're going to do these things, do you know what our opponents tell us? Do they argue with us on the merits? Do they try to persuade us that we're actually wrong, that these things are good ideas? Do they go to the voters and say, no, we don't believe in taxing the financial sector. We don't think healthcare for all is a good idea at all. They never do that. What they say is, Daniel, that sounds nice, but it's impossible. Don't even try. Daniel, that's hopeless. The votes aren't there. Why bother? You guys, if the votes are already there, we wouldn't need a new governor. That's the point. We're here to change what's possible, not accept what's possible. The past shouldn't be a straitjacket. It should be a lesson plan for what we need to do differently next time. That's why we're in this race, and that's what this race is about. So let me tell you about something else besides all those good public policy changes that others have told us was supposed to be impossible. You know what else they said was supposed to be impossible? for us to win. You can't win. Daniel, you're not a billionaire. Neither are you, Letisa. Daniel, you're not a millionaire. Neither are you, Letisa. I myself am not always totally sure about whether I'm a thousandaire. But some, depending on the most recent assessment of our home, sometimes I'm a thousandaire. I mean, I love my uncles a great deal, but none of them was ever president. Like, I'm not of that world. I used to teach math. Letisa, before serving in the legislature, worked for the state, and before that served as a counselor doing incredible work for at-risk youth and drug treatment issues. And they told us it wasn't possible for someone like us to get elected against these billionaires. That's just not how it works, guys. That's not what happens in America anymore. Don't be naive. Don't be idealistic. Get with the program. The train's left the station. Just run and catch it. The Billionaire Express is moving fast. And with 48 hours left until the polls close, they have no idea what hit them. They're so surprised. They're so surprised. They are so surprised. You know what it is that's making the impossible possible in this election? Which is also the thing that's going to make the impossible possible after we win? It's you. And it's not just, no offense, it's not just you in this restaurant right now. It's every indivisible group across the state of Illinois that came out of nothing and has built new political power of a type that we didn't imagine could exist before. Standing shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand with Action for Better Tomorrow groups and new groups forming every day, huddles and community meetings about this fundamental idea, not just that Donald Trump sucks. I know. That's what I'm talking. It's not just about Donald Trump being a tragic figure for our country, but about the idea that, wait a second, there's nobody that's going to fix it for us. There's no knight that's going to ride in on a white horse. The cavalry's not coming. There's no savior. It's not about we're going to find our billionaire to beat their billionaire. It's about we're going to create the new political structures ourselves. That's how we fix things. That's how we When I first started thinking about running, it was after Trump was elected and I was traveling the state. And I remember going to the Roosevelt dinner in McLean County. Raise your hand if you know McLean County. That's where Bloomington Normal is. And I went to the Roosevelt dinner, and the sort of party regulars who put the dinner together, they were like, I don't get it. We have this overflow room this year. Where'd everybody come from? And there were all these new people they'd never seen before. And those people gave me such hope. Those people gave me such excitement. Those people made me understand this was a time to run a different kind of campaign to govern Illinois differently. And those people, of course, became the foundation of our campaign in McLean County. But guess what else they did? They're running for office. Yes. They're running for county board in McLean County. They're running for state committee and taking over the county party. They're transforming our politics in Illinois. We were just in Rockford with not one or two, but 3 different people who are running for state central committeemen. State central committeemen. This is not a position that most people had ever heard of before. In fact, I still have it. It's a volunteer position to make our party better, and people are coming out of the woodwork to run for that because they know that if we just accept the Democratic Party that does wrong what the Democratic Party has done wrong in the past, we're going to get the same kind of government that's we've gotten in the past. And all of a sudden, people are coming out of the woodwork to do this kind of work. This is what's changing America. This is what's going to change Illinois. This is what's going to fix our party. This is literally, in the most concrete of ways, the precise reason that I felt this was the time to run for governor, a time to fundamentally transform Illinois. This is why I know in my heart, I know that when those polls close in 48 hours, we are going to win. And this is why we are going to then win in November and transform the state of Illinois, changing what's possible, changing what we can do, and lifting up people who have seen the state turn its back on their communities for far too long and are ready for the hope that we can provide. Thank you for what you do for Illinois. Thank you for what you do for our